Welcome to your go-to podcast for making the most of your second chance after a conviction, inspiring you to navigate the challenges associated with having a criminal record. I'm your host, Dion, and this is Uncensored Inspiration. All right, thank you for joining me again for another episode of Uncensored Inspiration. And this is May, Mental Health Month. I've been waiting for this one, folks, not just the correlation between mental activity and criminal activity, but also mental wellness. So I'm very excited to welcome to the stage Isaiah D. Banks.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you. Isaiah is a licensed mental health therapist and fitness coach, a Balanced Mind and Body LLC. We also have Lavonda Handy, licensed marriage and family therapist, founder of Truth Center for Health and Healing. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
And then we have a longtime friend, my girl, Wendy Quarles, who is currently a peer specialist. How you doing today, Wendy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Welcome to the stage. So, folks, I'm going to come back and ask each one of you right now just to give us a little bit of information about yourself, what you do, why you're into the business you're into, and then I have some questions for you, and then hopefully we'll get a couple of questions from our studio audience. So we'll start with you first, Isaiah. Can you share a bit about your journey and what it is you do?
Yes, so as you shared, I'm Isaiah D. Banks. I'm a licensed mental health therapist as well as a fitness coach. And so what inspired me was to not just assist people with their mental, but also with their physical as well. I've always seen a connection, how someone can be in a space where they're mentally not doing so well. You see their body start to show that, right? And it affects a lot of people. So I wanted to put a dent in that number and inspire some change. So here we are.
Okay, I like that. We're going to jump into that. All right, awesome. Lavonda, licensed marriage therapy and family therapist. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Yeah, so I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been practicing for a little bit over 2 years and owning my practice for 6 years now.
Okay.
And I focus on what's not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you.
Okay.
So we have a lot of trauma, right? I started my career working in residential and with intensive in-home therapy with kiddos who are actually suicidal,
okay,
right? And so a lot of times with families, it's more so focused on there's more to them than just what the behavior that you see. So a lot of my work helps focus on what's happened to them and really exploring that and allowing that to be the focus of our work and not that they've done something wrong.
Okay. So let me get you a quick question here. How does trauma influence mental health and the likelihood of becoming involved in criminal activities?
So I don't think it's an exact causation, right? I feel like it's more so something as, once again, what happened to you? So if you are raised in an environment where your resources are low, if you're raised in an environment where actually there's no nurturing, right? There's no family connection. Even things as simple as maybe your parent works a whole bunch and you never see them and you're left neglected, right? And so a lot of times people connect to their communities and the access for that is sometimes violence and criminality. And then as far as the mental health piece, right, if we are not nurturing ourselves, and I really appreciate what Isaiah said too, of like your fitness and taking care of yourself. We like to put kids into activities, and so their bodies are also connected. And so when we have a more mind-body connection, we are able to access anxiety, depression, because we all have them at times. Maybe we don't just know how to take care of them. And so sometimes that creates hypervigilance within ourselves. And so we make a lot of poor choices based off of this is survival and what helps us feel safe.
Okay. I like that answer. All right, my friend Wendy, tell us, you are a certified peer specialist. Tell us a little bit about what you do and your journey.
So I currently work as a peer specialist at the Norristown State Hospital. I started out as a community peer specialist working with individuals who had life in the community, were able to manage their whole health wellness and manage life outside of inpatient treatment.
Okay.
Now I'm in Norristown and I'm working with individuals who are preparing for discharge, some of who have been resistant to that process.
Okay.
Due to institutionalization.
They find it comforting being in this environment, even though this environment is not the best thing for me.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So it's just like someone spoke to earlier, change is difficult. And I have 3 women here with me now that I want to shout out to that have done the legwork, done what they've needed to do in regards to managing their treatment, creating coping skills and things of that nature to get them to this level of being able to have privileges to go off grounds in the community with me. So that's a big part of what I do is get people out, research, taking them around their catchment or their communities and finding out things that they can utilize once they get back out there.
Okay. All right. So all of us are doing some really important work here. And again, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Isaiah, what are some of the most common misconceptions about mental health that you encounter in your practice?
It typically involves a lot of the myths, right? So when you're talking about mental health, specifically in the Black community, crazy is the word that's thrown out, and how people that seeking treatment often face people, even if it's family members that say, oh, you're looking to get a therapist, oh, she's crazy, you know? Or they'll say that, oh, he's looking for some support, oh, he's not a man, he's weak. And that is something that is totally incorrect, but it's something that's normalized, you know, unfortunately, in a lot of different households. And so the verbiage, even around crazy, right, it just depends, right? Like for some person, like even slang, right? Some people just say it. I also work in a high school. A lot of teenagers, they'll say, oh, I'm feeling crazy today, right? And when they say that, I've been in settings where there's individuals who are psychotic, right? And so it's almost like I get where they're coming from, but we have to be mindful of the verbiage that comes from that, because the perception of mental health is very important, right? Especially when someone is seeking treatment, they have to feel that it's safe. They have to understand the language, and it takes time. But I do appreciate even spaces like this where we have the awareness, we have different events in order to spotlight this is what it actually is. You have experts that come up and they can help explain, no, this is the proper way to say it. This is the appropriate terms to use.
So touching on that just a little bit, and I'm just saying more particular to the community and how we view, in my opinion, which is a mental health crisis, because we're not able to openly say, this is how I'm feeling. If I say, oh, I'm crazy or I'm feeling cray-cray, you automatically get the stigma placed upon you. And how can you grow from that, right? Everyone receives trauma in their life. And I'm just going to talk about a natural occurrence, which is death. You lose a family member. That is a trauma-induced situation that I unfortunately know too much about. But how, when I'm in a position of not feeling my best, can I communicate that to people without receiving the backlash of, oh, girl, you just crazy? Because it's more than just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And it's one of those things where if you want the support, right, at first you have to be honest with yourself, right? And ask yourself, regardless of what people are saying, I know it's not easy. It's not easy for the general person to say, oh, I need help. But it's something where you have to be honest and say, if I don't get this help, what will happen? And I don't want to make it too dark, but it's a reality we're living in where people are taking their lives. And so...
Or hurting other people.
Or hurting other people, exactly. So we have to take that second with ourselves, ask ourselves, okay, do we need help? We need help. Let's try our best to go through the proper channels, right? Let's try our best to rely on our supports who are here to help us, family, friends, and really sometimes it could be a stranger who's just as a listening ear, right? And that means a lot because sometimes it's not what you say. Sometimes it's just being present with someone who's in a certain mental space And that goes a long way for them.
Okay, awesome. I like that answer as well. Lavonda, how do you distinguish between mental illness and other factors like substance abuse or personality traits before we get into the criminal background?
So this is, once again, what happened to you, not what's wrong with you.
Okay.
Most of the time, before people even introduce themselves into any kind of substance or anything gets triggered by a personality trait, there's some kind of trauma event that has occurred.
Okay.
So it's being really mindful of, okay, once again, what has happened in this person's life to cause them to maybe need to find a different coping strategy that's not so healthy, right? And what has happened to this person where actually our brains are really strong muscles that we don't know that they're so strong. They can overpower us, and the negative thinking, thoughts can take us. And so our brain is actually used as a safety, right? So you think about if someone's diagnosed with like any schizophrenia, any bipolar, right? I don't like labels too much, right? Anyone that comes to the door, I'm like, can you tell me your story? Because if I don't know your story, I don't know how your brain is responding to take care of you.
Okay.
And so most of the time our brains are responding in a survival mode, and this is the only way that we feel safe, or this is the only way that we have decided that it's safe enough to cope so we don't have to feel the overwhelming pain that thinking about the trauma brings to us.
And I'm just piggybacking off of this because, and I'm asking a question more so than making a statement. So you've received trauma, maybe say as a youth, and let's not say you're aware of the fact that some things we think are normal. Excuse me, I laugh a lot with my girlfriends now when we talk about disciplining kids, right? If you're from the old school, you got your ass whooped, and that just is what it is, right? And they keep saying, oh, now these kids are soft. We're not disciplining our kids the way we used to. I, for one, don't want to physically hurt my son. I find the correlation between discipline and love a thin line. I do understand that sometimes physical correctiveness may be what you feel is necessary.
Right.
But when it happens, and I'm just saying in growing up, because I got my fair share of ass beatings, when it happens and you carry that with you, and it somewhat is traumatizing, right? The thought of a belt coming at you and just rolling around in a circle, or however that went in your household. How do you know that this is an emotional part for me, right? This is a trigger, and I've really experienced trauma that may come out somewhere else. How can I deal with that?
You may not know it.
Okay.
I think that's the thing. You may not know it, and it may show up in your other relationships. So how you deal with friendships when there's any kind of conflict, or a romantic relationship. We shut down. We will get really angry, right? If you are more reactive in situations, at that point, it may you may not have been able to learn how to self-regulate.
Okay.
Right? And then to Isaiah's point of asking for help, if we were beaten as children, right? You got to think about the simplest things that you were ever beaten for, and things that
Didn't make sense.
didn't make any sense, right? And so then the thought is, okay, now I actually can't ask for help because I asked, could I go outside and play? And I got in trouble for asking to go outside and play. That makes absolutely no sense. So now, as an adult, you won't recognize that.
Or seek help. When you thought you could in a safe place, you were shut down.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So, Wendy, how does the justice system typically address mental health needs for individuals with criminal convictions, and what improvements would you like to see?
Well, as far as the criminal justice system, I feel like mental health is secondary. They are more focused on the charge at hand, or what the crime the person has committed. I would like to see get those gaps kind of bridged and have more clinical staff involved at the time of arrest, like on the police forces. And I do know that there are some programs now with local law enforcement that provide therapeutic support for individuals who may be experiencing mental health crisis. And how many times do we hear on the news, and you can almost listen to the scenario and determine, it doesn't take to be a clinician or a psychiatrist to know this person is having a breakdown.
I'm about to jump out my skin right now. I'm trying to hold my lips together so I don't interrupt you, but here it comes. So with that being said, right, and we're going to talk about a particular case in Norristown that a lot of people say, you need to get on, you need to be active when these things happen. And sometimes I have to pace myself. But when I saw the Norristown police department run a human being over? And I'm no clinical psychiatrist. I'm just a human being with foresight. That was a mental health crisis at its finest moment. Here is an opportunity, Norristown Police Department, to enact things that could actually help people. And the thought of you running over a human being to dismantle or diffuse a situation is inconceivable. It's inconceivable as a human being, yet alone a police department or a police person. And I know we're way past that subject. It's still going to get talked about because this is May in mental health. So when we see crisis like that, as a professional, and I'm specifically speaking to law enforcement, what is the process? How should situations like that be diffused and handled?
Well, I do know that there are programs available. They have crisis intervention teams in Montgomery County specifically that are contacted or should be contacted
before
anyway when they have when they have those type situations. But we also have to remember that just like everywhere else, there's not enough manpower. Everywhere is short-staffed, and how quickly folks are responding to these situations play a huge part in how these situations are diffused.
But I want to know if color plays a part into that too.
Well, we all know the answer to that. And guess what? Just being transparent about it, I and it's unfortunate, but I see so many times, and let's talk about the recidivism. It's I watch this day in and day out where folks come and go, and the treatment that they receive due to the color of their skin, unfortunately, is different, And so, with that being said, that's the preliminary part, the arrest, the taking down, whatever's happening out there in the community that gets this person into the prisons, into the mental health system, into the hospitals. That needs to be the focus. What are we doing? How are we addressing these things? Why aren't more mental health staff involved in this process and getting these programs going? You know what I mean? So that people don't have to suffer. They're already suffering, right? Mm-hmm. What happened to you?
Exactly.
What's going on with you? So.
Okay. Awesome. So Isaiah, can you share a case or an example where holistic well-being strategies made a significant impact in someone's recovery and personal growth?
I will speak of a client. I'll actually say their name. The client's name is Isaiah Banks. Right? And so for myself growing up, I grew up, I was bullied. A lot of people do not know that. I was bullied. People said some very hurtful things in middle school. Okay. And I had temper tantrums or had some different fights I had. Okay. And just wasn't feeling good about myself. Self-esteem was low. And so for me, I didn't know what to do. Okay. And so one day I went home. My mom seen me crying in the kitchen. She contacted the school. I was so upset at her for that, but it helped me majorly because I got connected with a school counselor who just spoke with me. His words carried power, and he was able to get me to believe in myself. Then I started going to the gym. I started lifting weights, eating right, and spent some time with friends more. And I just was a different person versus previous. When I was getting bullied, I was able to care about myself more.
So in the process, and I'm just making more a point of the connection of mind, body, soul, and spirit, right? So when you weren't feeling your best as a youth, how was your physical condition? Where were you there?
I always had muscle, but it was more so of a little bit of fluff that was there.
The fluff I'm carrying right now, transfer that to me, Isaiah.
Yeah, so it was that. I had some acne that was on my face as well. And
just an adolescent awkward time, right? Which is a natural part of life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and wasn't feeling good. Just generally was not feeling good about myself. Okay. About the world.
Okay.
So that's where I was.
Okay. So if you had not been introduced to the counselor, how would your journey look? Or how, can you picture how that would look?
Yeah, excellent question. I would have been somewhere in stagnation.
Okay.
I wouldn't have reached the pinnacles that I did reach.
Okay.
I wouldn't have met the people I connected with.
Okay.
I would have been a lost version of myself.
Okay. Why didn't you share your experience with your mother? Why did she have to find you in that situation?
Because I felt as though that I'm a teenager, she doesn't relate, she don't get it. And then we have to be honest too, sometimes different generations can't always relate to other generations.
Okay.
And so their way of handling things, i.e. go to the teacher.
I.e. go kick their ass.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, Mom, you're not gonna get it. So I just kept it inside.
Okay.
And that's just how I handled it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you were able to find the support that you needed. I'm glad that your journey turned out the way it did.
Appreciate
you seem like
that.
an excellent human being, Isaiah. So let
Thank
me
you.
just say that. Thank you very much. All right. So, Lavonda, what effective strategies or therapies have you used to help people overcome the stigma associated with mental health challenges and/or criminal records?
So I think my focus has always been community.
Okay.
I am a licensed marriage and family therapist,
Nice.
right? And a lot of our work is systemic, right? So anytime a client comes into the room, I want to know where you work. I want to know your mama, your daddy, your cousin. I need to know who your entire system is, because if you don't have a community that's connected to you, it's going to be hard to survive the pain that you're going through. Okay. So that is always my first aspect of like, who's around you so we can get you connected to those people.
Let me quickly ask you, though. What if the person doesn't have anybody?
We're going to find some people.
Okay, we're gonna build a village.
We are going to build a village, because I think a lot of times folks don't think they have a village.
Okay.
Because there's too much shame, there's guilt, and there's embarrassment
Okay.
for whatever they're going through, and they don't want to share that information with the others.
Okay.
Because they're afraid of being judged, which is
Okay.
a very natural thing. If you are going through something, someone may not understand it, but someone may listen.
Okay.
And that's what we want people to do. We want them to listen, and I want to give people their voice back.
Nice.
Because when shame grows in isolation.
Okay.
So if you were alone in your shame, it would just build and build, and then you get stuck and you get lost. But if you have community and a space to share your voice, even if it just starts with me and you, I'm your community.
Okay. So it starts with just a conversation. Awesome. Wendy, what factors contribute to reoffending among individuals with mental health disorders?
Wow. So let's start with trauma. Let's start with poverty, lack of resources, just economic status. A lot of times people, and like you just spoke to, it takes a village. You know what I need? People need to be surrounded. People need to, and I oftentimes speak to the folks that I deal with at Norristown. You would think because they are in that environment and they're surrounded with staff, that they should be getting top-notch treatment. And a lot of times that doesn't happen because unfortunately, people bring their problems to work. Staff aren't performing to the level of expectation as far as their job description. So I oftentimes tell them, if there's one person on that unit that you can connect with, make that your point person.
Okay.
So, and that's where the resource building starts. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Maximizing your support system, maximizing your resources, because as we all know, they're far and few between as far as mental health is concerned.
And my brain just started rolling because it's, and I'm not taking us off subject, but coming home from incarceration, as I'm learning today, there are an abundance of resource opportunities to help you, but I don't know, outside of going to the to the halfway house, if I heard anything specific about the mental health piece. You're coming home, I feel like exit counseling needs to be a part of your process, because this was just a trauma event.
Yes.
For whatever reason you're there, that was trauma. Now it's compounded by the amount of time you just sat down. So when the person is being reintroduced into society, and I had a term for you, institutionalized. I have heard that, when people come home, and I'm only saying this just as far as dating, people say, oh, don't date so-and-so, they just came home, they still institutionalized. How do you break that barrier, and how do you get people to no longer see you as institutionalized, de-institutionalized, but as a whole human being? And that's a question for the whole floor. Anyone can answer.
Well, I just feel like some folks spend a lifetime in and out of jails and institutions, and just like anything else, you become accustomed to that lifestyle, and your behaviors exhibit that. So as far as jails are concerned, I feel like there should be more of that in the jails. A lot of the folks that are leaving the prisons coming to Norristown is specific to there's not enough mental health treatment in the jails. These people are sick. They need mental health treatment, and this is the cause of the behavior that they're displaying. So we need to get in the jails. We need to be in the drug and alcohol treatment centers. There needs to be more outpatient stuff available to folks. And by all means, if you're keeping somebody in an environment for over a year, make sure that they're getting what they need while they're there.
Okay.
Not just holding them in a cell, not just holding them, you know what I mean? Let's get the treatment going. What an opportunity. It's a great opportunity to dig in and find out what happened, where the breakdowns are.
Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll add that people are going to see you how they want to see you, right? And so you can't control that. I always tell people, control only what you can control. So people see you as a criminal, that's up to them, right? The most important part is, how do you see yourself, right? So this is a question to really ask yourself. Do you still understand you're no longer a criminal? Do you understand that you are a father, you are a mother, you're a brother, a sister, husband, wife? You're a totally different person. And that was one aspect of your journey, but it's not your whole story. You still have life to live. So I tell people first, you have to check in with yourself to make sure that you understand who you are, the point in your story that you are at, and then that's when we can start to work on different things, your resumes, your environment, which plays a huge part, but it starts with you. That's the piece of advice I give the person initially.
Okay. Lavonda, any thoughts?
I completely agree with that. I have clients where I'm like, you're not on the streets anymore. Like, this is your wife or this is your husband. Like, you can't speak to them like that. Or you also don't have to be in survival mode. You have a full-time job. Your family is safe and healthy, but internally your nervous system has not settled yet. So I agree with Wendy, right? Like, you have to have the mental health support there as you're coming out of the system, because your nervous system has not reset yet. Because your nervous system is always on survival when you're in prison, right? Like, you got to watch your back, your corner, like you always turning your head. And when you home and you safe, you don't have to do that anymore.
So I want to ask a question about that, because a lot of times, and I'm only speaking to things I've been hearing, like, I want to live in my feminine era and I want a safe space. So if you're home already, right, and you're not feeling safe at the place that we call home, where am I now? I should be able to seek refuge in my shelter, but if this is the trauma-informed situation, how do I break free from this? And I'm even as a youth, right? We're talking about kids, wives, husbands. How do you separate that household trauma from your daily existence?
Where is your community?
Okay, let's go back to
And we need to find a new community. Once again, one person. That's why I used to love working in residential with kids. Listen, you can make all the poor decisions, but I'm still going to be here for you. Okay, and I will help you lead through that. And so if you are really looking to make changes, like Isaiah was saying, like, you have to want to change, right? And if you notice that there is something not right in your system, then we need to find something that can make you feel safe again. Right?
Okay, awesome. So Isaiah, what resources or community programs do you recommend for those seeking support for mental health, especially as it relates to criminal behavior?
The first one is a website called Open Path.
Open Path.
That is a low-cost therapy option.
Okay.
I'm talking, you may be paying $30 of that per session.
Okay.
Open Path Collective.
So, wait, that's without insurance, so they can just come in and I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of my questions. I forgot to ask it. So, Open Path is therapy.
Yes.
And it's low cost.
Yes.
Okay.
Low cost.
Okay.
Yep. They have virtual.
Anyone can come. I'm sorry.
You good.
Okay.
Anyone can come.
All right.
And it's virtual. It's in person. It's up to you.
Okay.
So that's one. You also have Psychology Today is another option where you have a list of different providers that's available, psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health therapists as well. And they're there for support. They accept insurance, they accept self-pay. It's the whole different range around that.
Before we get to anything else, what's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist and then a therapist?
So a psychologist, they have to go a little bit more schooling than a therapist.
Okay.
And then a psychiatrist, they're typically the ones, you have to have a medical background, and they're typically the ones who are able to prescribe medication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And were you going to mention another organization? I'm sorry, I keep jumping in.
No, you're good. You're fine. So another one is Black Men Heal.
Oh, okay.
That is and shout out to Bernard, Bernard. He's one of the hosts there.
Nice.
Shout out to him, and shout out to the sisters that founded it, right, as well.
Okay. Getting goosebumps. Must be
Yes.
something good.
Yes, so it is a space. They meet virtually. They have in-person events sometimes.
Okay.
But they provide free therapy for men. You get a number of 8 sessions.
Nice.
And it's free. It's paid for. There's a fund that they use for that, and it's for Black men to use.
Tell us this organization again.
Yes, Black Men Heal.
Black Men Heal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. 8 sessions. It's free.
Free.
What else were you going to say? I'm sorry. I just want to get these organizations out there again because these resources, if they aren't shared, they aren't used, and there are people who need these.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you get your 8 free sessions. They also have weekly, every Sunday at 7. Not this upcoming Sunday because it's Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Shout out to the mothers, by the way.
Shout out to the mommies.
Beautiful. And yes, they meet every Sunday regularly, 7 p.m. And it's not, so the virtual space is called King's Corner.
Okay. I like that.
You heard of, yes.
No, I haven't heard of it. I just like the title, King's Corner.
Yeah.
Right? For our Black men. We are kings, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And yes, so the King's Corner is not therapy per se. That's separate from the 8 sessions.
Okay.
But it is a space for men to come together, to dialogue, to have community, like she was saying.
Nice.
Which is so key right now.
Okay.
In this day and time,
It is.
it's needed. It should be a requirement. But yes, a space for men to commune.
Nice. I like that. Okay.
Can I add a resource?
Absolutely.
There's also therapy for Black girls.
That's right. That's right.
There's another
She
one.
just gave me triple goosebumps. I didn't forget about the women. Therapy for Black girls.
Oh, and also inclusivetherapist.com. So
That's right.
for like queer,
Okay.
LGBTQ,
Girl.
anything. Yep.
Awesome. That's a
BIPOC.
subject in and of itself, and the dynamics to be able to have a safe place in which to express your self-identity.
Yep.
I love that. Say that again, friend.
Inclusivetherapist.com and therapy for Black girls.
Nice.
I have a question.
Yes, friend.
Are these Montgomery County-based programs?
Wherever you are.
Wherever.
You are.
Okay,
because they
that's
do
a
have
good
virtual.
question.
Okay, it makes sense. Good.
Awesome. I'm sorry. So we are down to Lavonda. What advice would you give to a family or loved one trying to help someone facing both legal issues and mental struggles? It's one in the hand.
This one, I think, is the hardest,
Okay.
right? Because I think a lot of folks that are a family member don't also realize that they need the community and support as well, right? Because if you're taking care of someone that is struggling, who's taking care of you, right? We're always pouring from empty cups and never refilling our cup. And so my goal is always to, once again, who is your community?
Okay.
Because if you're taking care of someone, you're draining your funds, you're draining your mental, your
We're just talking
emotional.
about parenthood, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
like I have a 3-year-old, so
Okay.
she drains everything in me,
God
right?
bless.
But if you have someone that is struggling mentally, you don't know what to do.
Okay.
Right? And so you're lost and you're confused. Maybe you actually don't even understand mental health or substance abuse.
Okay.
And you're like, why can't they just get it together? And that's not the reality. Once again, what happened to you? Because sometimes even your family doesn't understand the impact, because as a Black community, we're taught to just push through.
You hit it right on the head, because I was going to say, so for most of us, it becomes self-therapy, right? Because they say Black people don't go to therapists. And I'm going to say one of the things, even for myself, because we've all had trauma. And I'll say to myself, yeah, I'll go visit somebody for a couple of times. And I'll start thinking to myself, well, damn, I had to pay this insurance premium. I had to come drive over here. And for all intents and purposes, this person is a stranger.
Yeah.
So I am trusting you, right? I'm trusting you with the trauma that happened to me. And even though I don't want to keep it, it's valuable because it happened to me, right? And then the other thing is, sometimes we push it so far down. And I'm saying that for myself included. I've been in situations where I'll say, I don't even have time to deal with this shit. Right? I'm going to push this down here because I have to keep moving. So you keep building and building and building a treasure trove of trauma. Okay. All right.
And it's going to pop at some point. I think it's like a soda, right? You shake it, shake it, shake it. At some point, it's going to explode.
So I feel like that for myself, because I always say to my son, don't go out there and get into no shit because you know your mama crazy. And I'm saying that jokingly, but I'm saying that also as a warning. Right? Not only to him, but to myself, because sometimes so much, like you're saying, we're on autopilot. I'm just dealing. I'm just moving. I'm just grooving. And sometimes it could take just that one thing. And now you on the news. And people was like, I knew she was crazy. No, friend, I'm not crazy.
You're overwhelmed.
I've been through a lot. And now this is the pop. This is the point where enough is enough. And now I got to show you my gangster, which is always my favorite saying, because I'm not really a gangster. But I'm saying that in the sense that when you are overwhelmed and pushed to your absolute limits, at some point it has to come out in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Okay. So I'm sorry, Lavonda, I just stopped at you, right? Keeping the pace here. Wendy, what support is available for reintegration into society?
I would say take advantage of any outpatient programs. I know that locally we have Central, and I'm sure there's a lot of other places. Any type of peer support, any type of peer recovery coaching. Utilize the warm lines, utilize the peer support talk lines. And I love those because the person on the other end doesn't know you. This is a neutral person, and they have lived experience. It's somebody that has walked in your shoes and can possibly offer you some feedback, and it may not necessarily be clinical, but the information that they can offer you could get you through. Okay. This is just somebody to talk to. You pick the phone up, you dial the number, they answer. How are you? What's happening?
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not a therapy appointment. It's just somebody.
Someone to listen.
Somebody listening.
Okay.
Yep. Take advantage of all those resources. Maximize your resources. Again, there's not a lot out here when it comes to community reintegration. Okay. They set you up with the case manager. People are overworked. You may not be seen as often as you need to be seen. So I'll repeat, making sure that anything that's offered in the jails and in the drug and rehab programs, take advantage of it. Go to the groups, build your coping tools, utilize it, find that person in the staff that you connect with, because sometimes that's the only way you're going to get it. Okay. You know, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So just making sure that you're utilizing and taking advantage of what's being offered. When you're coming out of the hospital, it's more likely that you will be led in the direction of, services.
Okay.
They prepare you. There's a treatment plan. There's a discharge meeting with a program. You're stepping down into a lesser restrictive environment. But with that being said, coming out of prison, again, you're going to the halfway house. Okay? So I don't know how much mental health treatment is offered in those places.
That's a good question.
But, it's people function well sometimes in group settings when they're locked down and, they get accustomed to that. We're creatures of habit. So they're doing the same routine. It's day in and day out. They're going to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're going to group. They're going to gym. They're going to fresh air. And bam, you're back out in the community. No structure.
I've often heard it said for repeat offenders that they are conditioned, right? Yeah. Because like you said, someone is essentially taking care of you. And people joke it off. I was going to say, they joke it off, right? But that if you are truly struggling, right, and you haven't identified the root cause, what is causing this trauma, and you keep finding yourself in this situation, it becomes home. Like that becomes a life plan. And for someone who's not struggling with those same issues, you're looking at it, and I'm only saying this from my own personal experience, and I don't mean it negatively, but instead of saying what happened to you, I'm saying what's wrong with this person? Like, and not saying anything about the person being gay, not thinking that, oh, you just want to be there because this is your lifestyle. No, you are trapped mentally, and you can't fix it. And again, we're saying there's resources available, but obviously not enough. Maybe while we're there, the resources, we're scared to take them. We're scared to take that step because I know I need to do this to better myself, but I don't want to look like this in here in front of the guys or in front of the girls. So I'm just going to stay with the status quo and not actually get what I need because I'm scared of what that might make me look like. Vulnerable. And that's what it is, getting to that vulnerable part.
And change is scary, right? I think people, because they're so familiar and comfortable with what they've been doing for the last however many years, it's comfortable sitting there. So if I decide to go left, I have no idea what's behind that door.
Scary.
And that's very, very scary, even though it may be the safe direction to go, right? Or the discomfort may be temporary. I think that's another thing why a lot of folks struggle with change is they realize there will be some discomfort, but they have to sit in it. And they don't think about how it's going to be temporary and there is peace on the other side of that.
Well, so I don't think sometimes people know, and what you're saying about that comfort structure, and I'm only thinking about domestic violence and relationships. I think two things happen here, right? One is somewhere in our energy, we keep seeking out the same type of person, and I don't understand that. I'm only saying that from my experiences. I started to think differently, like, oh, I've got to date X, Y, and Z to not have this happen to me. But then two, once you're there, and not that you like it, that's all you know.
Right.
So I'm going to go from abuser A to B and C because A, something else happened to me that is allowing me to receive this type of behavior and function. Because I often think about people, and no one in particular, but a person A, because it's two people in this situation, right? One person's being abused and the other person is abusing the person. That's your coworker. They come and sit next to you every single day. They look at you with a straight face, y'all laugh, joke, share drinks, and then go home to hell. And it's like, how do people function like that? Because I know even if I stubbed my toe, I'm coming to work and it's just drama. And they like, Teacher Dion, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm not feeling well. It's pain. But to be going through something so traumatic and being able to get up and put on a different face for the world is a unique survival gift, I believe. Because why everybody not set up like that? Come to work and push over people's desks because me and my sweetie had an argument. What you mean there ain't no cornflakes? How do we, once we recognize that though, how can we safely take the first step to healing? And that's for everyone.
I think recognizing that you're experiencing shame.
Okay.
Right? I think when we name it as shame, we can say that I don't feel good about this. Okay. I feel bad about this. When we actually have the strength to name it, then it kind of desensitizes it a little bit.
Okay.
And then we have the courage to say, like, this has been happening to me and I truly need help. But when the shame is winning, you won't get the help that you need.
How do you work past the shame though? No, how do I take the first step, you know?
Well, what's your shame I'm sorry, my therapist brain just kicked on. What's your shame telling you?
It would be telling me, like, this is not good. You know, I'm going to be vulnerable. If I let this go, I feel like these skeletons come out the closet. If I let this go, are you going to be able to handle that? Are you going to be able to take care of me?
And then I'm going to say, and if you stay, what will happen?
if I stay in the condition, unfortunately, that's all I know. So if I stay, it's going to stay. This is how I function.
And it feels comfortable.
Not comfortable, but this is how I function.
Right, but it's comfortable then.
No, not at all.
Okay.
But do you understand what I'm saying? It's how I function.
Okay.
No, it's not comfortable at all, but this is how I function. How do we help?
So if this is how you function, right, and you don't want to keep functioning this way because you're fearful that it's going to be uncomfortable. Okay. And what's going to make it uncomfortable to make a change?
And I don't know. And I'm speaking in general.
I love that you said that.
I don't know.
I love that you said I don't know. Because a lot of times that is it. We don't know.
Okay.
Right? And I like to be transparent with clients. Like, I also don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to be good, bad, ugly, yellow, purple, or green on the other side of that. But are you willing to risk not being beat up, not feeling so much shame and bad, and having to wear a mask every single day when you leave your home? Are you willing to risk that?
I would say absolutely yes. I'm not being beat up. I just
Great.
want y'all to know I'm
Love
in safe
that.
place. I'm just using examples. Yes. Okay.
But that's what I would say to a client, right? Because a lot of times folks are really comfortable and they're really, really scared. And I want to say that I'm going to hold hope with you and I'm going to hold your hand through this process.
And I'll actually add to that too. So my therapeutic orientation is solution-focused brief therapy.
Okay.
So for that orientation, it starts in the mind. And we're focusing on not just the problem, not just the issue of DV in this case, but on how do we get past this, right?
Okay.
So some questions I would ask that person is, let's just say, just throwing some stuff out there. If you were to move on past this relationship, what would be different, right? Where would you go? What were some things you think would change, right? How would that impact your life? Right, in a positive manner, of course. But what are the changes that you would notice within yourself? And not just you noticing, what about your friends, your coworker? What would they notice too, right? And maybe you may say, I may smile more. I'm going to the gym. I'm training with Isaiah.
Hey.
But I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And it starts right there, just with those questions. And you may say, Isaiah, those are just questions. What are you talking about? Until you actually in session, and we actually build in the tools and skills in order to make that come to reality. Because it all starts in the mind. All starts in the mind.
Okay. My final question for our panel is, A, I want each one of you to tell the community how to reach you, and B, what events or things you may have coming up that we can come visit you. Any person, we'll keep it in order. Isaiah, what is going on in your world, friend? How can we reach out to you? How can people come see you?
Yes, so I'm actually going to reach my business card as well.
Okay.
But I have many different spaces where I can be reached at.
Okay.
Virtual space is the biggest one.
Okay.
I'm on all streaming platforms at Isaiah D. Banks, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, like we were talking about earlier. I'm there too.
Nice.
And I also have my website, www.abalancedmindandbody.com. Emails, my phone number is on there as well, which I'll be providing in a second, but different options. And I also want to make it clear that it's confidential, right? So I'm not going to go scream your name out in the middle of the street saying this person's looking for support. It's just me and you. We're walking that journey together. And the number to call me, which is also confidential, is 609-535-3672.
Give it to us again.
609-535-3672.
Nice. All right, Lavonda, yourself, any big things coming up? How can we find you?
You can find my group practice at truthcenterhh.com.
Okay.
There are several clinicians on staff there, so whatever issue you have, we probably can support you with it. Also, we are Truth Center HH handle on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
And then if you want to find me on TikTok, it's Lavonda Regulates.
Okay,
on
Lavonda
TikTok.
Regulates. Nice. Okay. Wendy, how can we find you, friend?
You can find me at wquarles@pa.gov. And events, we aren't really doing anything at the hospital, but we are deeply involved in community activities. We are connected with the George Washington Carver Community Center.
One of my favorites.
We are about to participate in the NAMI Walk
Okay.
on the 16th.
Okay.
And we're out there. We're moving around. We're learning the county. We're looking for things to do positive to prepare these women for life outside of those walls. So if you guys have any resources or any information about activities, please feel free to email me and share that information.
And I just want to say, I don't want you to think that I didn't know that you worked at the Norristown State Hospital. I didn't know if we were comfortable saying it. And now that we are, I am happy. It's here, right here in our community, right? Norristown to me is a unique place because we grew up with the Norristown State Hospital. And when the residents, I don't want to say were released, but a lot of them became community members. They didn't leave Norristown, they stayed right here. So the people you see walking around are now babysitters, are now barbers. So I'm saying that it was a positive thing to grow up with the Norristown State Hospital and seeing how some people can come home and actually reinvent themselves, because I feel like that's another process we don't talk about.
Right.
We work through the trauma, but now I need a new me. And what does this new me look like? And what does the new me do that the old me didn't do?
Yes.
So that I stay the new me? But I didn't want you to think that I was ignoring the place that you
not
worked
at all. And you know what? That's what the hospital is for. It's a treatment center. You come there, you stabilize, and the goal is to get you back out into the community. How about that stigma of Norristown State Hospital in the past, where it was just a holding place? Now, treatment has evolved, medications have evolved.
Support.
And yes, and people can come there and feel positive about starting a new life.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And being able to manage their wellness journey. And that's just it, We all here have some type of something.
Something
We all
happened
got
to everybody.
something,
It
you know
just
what
is
I mean?
it is.
So
you will go through something.
You will go through something. So it's
unfortunate.
unfortunate that mental health, it is what it is, and it can be treated.
Okay,
So,
I like that.
yeah.
There is a silver lining right behind that cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have been amazing. I thank you so much for your support. All right, so friends, we're about to wrap up this session. I'm sorry, the bent is just my thing. It's like the Wendy Williams, how you doing? So I'm not that big yet. We working on that. But
We'll get there.
Thank you, friend. Thank you for believing in me. On the count of 3, Wendy, you better get this bent.
I got it.
You ready for me?
I'm ready.
All right, y'all. 1, 2, 3. Bent. All right, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Uncensored Inspiration. Please remember to like, share, follow, and subscribe. All the things that help us to serve the community to speak freely and think boldly. Ciao for now.